Welcome everyone to the HSBK race build on the Aprilia RS660. Throughout this series, we're going to be taking parts that we sell on our site, hsbkracing.com, and show you guys how to install them on this brand new bike and what it takes to take one of these things from bone stock into a proper race machine. So first up today, as I already went over, is going to be the brake lines, and then we're going to go from there. Like I said, you can get all the parts we're going to be talking about down on our website, hsbkracing.com. There will be a link to that website down in the description, so be sure to check it out. We got our service manager, Brian, here, who's going to be doing the work for us, and we're just going to figure along with you guys what it takes to replace the brake lines on one of these. So now, being that this bike has ABS, the first thing we're gonna have to do is get down to the ABS pump. So we've already gone ahead and pulled off the seats as well as these little side panels that cover up some of the tank access. Now we're just kind of taking a look at how to get the tank off, because obviously this is our first time diving into one of these as well, with it being a brand new bike and all. So we're gonna figure out how to get the tank off, pull that off, and that way we have the ABS pump fully exposed and we can go about capping those lines off. All right, so we pulled out the ECU bracket and therefore the ECU off the back of the airbox here. We got both of the side fairings off. Brian is now working on pulling out the radiator. Well, not out, just loosening all the bolts so that we can move it around and then move the ABS lines out of the way from it. But yeah, here's one of the first looks at a 660 a little bit more stripped down. We're gonna keep moving through it here and get to these brake lines. The two bolts on the left side of the bike are the ones that go to the rear ABS system, while the two on the right side of the bike are the ones for the front of the system. Then we were just saying we think it's going to be much easier to move it from the front over the radiator and out rather than try to bring the bracket in, because a lot of the line behind the radiator is hard line, whereas a lot of it in front, even though that's probably impossible to see in there, is soft line. So that'll be easier to manipulate and pull out. So what we got going on is a set of Speedler lines. Now these are just pretty basic when it comes to the options you can get with Speedler. These are just obviously clear coating outside of the line itself, silver fittings, comes with a whole bunch of crush washers, a little sticker and stuff. But for the most part, anything you get from Speedler, you can have completely customized, whether it be line color, fitting color, banjo bolt color, really any colors you want, you can get those lines done in. So this is kind of the development kit from them that we measured up and sent the dimensions to them. So this is kind of going to be the first test fit of it and make sure, you know, all the measurements that we took were right and everything. And if that's something you're interested in getting for your bike, or really any bike at all, check out hsbk.com and we can get you any brake line, any color combination that you could need. All right, so we got the front lines a little bit mocked up here. We're pulling off this little, I don't know, what would you call it, fan shroud or something? Or we're calling it in our way. So we're pulling that off preemptively, because A, for the routing of the lines, and secondly, we know down the line this bike's gonna have full-blown race fairings on it, so we won't need that anyway. But the lines looking like they're lining up pretty good. Just gotta finish getting some other things out of the way, and then we'll be able to bleed them. All right, so it's been a little while since we were actually working on this bike. We were filming it. You guys have been seeing all that and watching that up until now. We actually had to take a pause because there were a few things that we encountered that we weren't quite expecting. The first and foremost being is the need of this guy right here. So from the factory, the front brake line setup on this bike has the main one coming off the master here down to the first caliper, where there's then a double banjo bleeder that then picks up and puts another line over the fender to the other caliper on the other side. So when we went on to install this new brake line kit, we realized we had no way to bleed the one caliper because we only had a double banjo bleeder, which is one of these just with longer threads. So we contacted Speedler, our supplier for these brake lines, and from now on, whenever anyone purchases a set of these brake lines from our site, you'll be prompted to order one of these along with it, which you kind of need to make the brake lines work. So basically this threads in through the banjo bolt, pretty simple, and then this top section of it acts as a bleeder that you can crack and then bleed the system. So a little bit of a holdup, but we got it figured out, and these are now readily available and in stock at hsbk.com. And then when it comes to the back brake line here, we noticed that the initial measurement that we got was a little bit too long, so we've also modified that with Speedler and had them shorten up the length of the rear line for these bikes. So once again, if you order a set of these brake lines off of hsbkracing.com, they'll come a little bit shorter with just the right amount of length on them to have them sit nicely on this rear caliper. But right now, Brian's getting this nice little banjo bleeder mounted up to this right caliper. And once that's on there, we're gonna be able to bleed this whole system and finalize the brakes on it. In all the bikes here at Ducati Warhorse / HSBK Racing, all we use is Motul in all the bikes, whether it be brake fluid, oil, or anything of that nature. So we're gonna get that fluid run through the entire system and bled out. Just a couple of nice notes that I noticed about the front end here is the bike comes with the 90-degree valve stems, the rotors are floating. Now I just wish the calipers had a bleeder built in, but regardless of that, these banjo bleeders do the job just fine, and we're gonna be able to bleed this system up real quick. And yeah, we'll have the brake lines fully installed and routed. If you wanna have a better look at the routing here that we're doing, coming off the banjo and running down and teeing off there, staying on the outside of the forks, then down into the respective calipers. Once again, outside of the fork, running down, tucked in here nicely to the caliper. And of course, this one on the left side of the bike, this is the banjo bleeder that came stock on this caliper. But like I said, the one on the other side had to be replaced because that one was made to have two brake lines running to it opposed to one. It's riveting stuff going on right now.
Yeah. If this was a book, I wouldn't be able to stop turning the pages.
All right, guys, so that wraps up the brake line install on the RS660. Pretty straightforward process, all good. We're going to fully wrap up the rear brake when we put on the rear sets. And over here, I've just got some of the parts lined out that you can expect to see on this series coming up. We got the Öhlins shock, things like a Spider nice carbon fiber chain guard here, brake lever guard, gas cap also by Spider. Nice HSBK branding on it. Same with the triple clamp, which is absolutely beautiful. Give you a good look at that. And then these are just some of the pieces of the rear sets, seeing as, you know, they're not super complicated, but they're definitely more complex than your standard rear set. All the products that we talked about in this video are available down in the description at hsbkracing.com. And stay tuned for us putting more work into this bike and continuing to pick away at it. It's not as fast as we'd like it to be, but we're doing the best we can with what we have. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you soon.